Welcome back, you filthy exiles. Alright, so I said I was only going to do one build and then I got carried away and I did a second build. I really wanted to play a jugg. I just had it in my mind I was going to play... Damn, bloody get your hand out of the camera, Sean. I mean Jorgen. Alright, anyway, I said I was going to play a Herald of Agony jugg, and I was going to go down and use it as a delver, and then I got sidetracked, and then I wanted to play Righteous Fire, so then I played Righteous Fire. And as you can see, no DEGEN or whatever. Right now the PoB on this is capping about 700,000 DoT. That's with Elemental Equilibrium that we proc on our Orb of Storms. This is a progress build, by the way. This isn't a comprehensive build, and this is done in a really cheap and easy way so that it obviously it's affordable for us plebs who, as you can see, I'm in a business shirt, work full time. Now, how did the basic mechanics of this, I'll run through that and then I'll take us through a T15 map, because I've got this up to doing T14 to T16 maps, and it does it pretty okay. It's not yet at a bossing level, but we still have a lot of changes to make. It's only level 88, and there's a lot that we can do with this. So anyway, how does this work? Well, if we pull open our tree, now this tree will be in the PoB. I'm not going to go into crazy detail in it because it's pretty self-explanatory, but the key points to note are there is a cluster jewel that operates here. Now, the key thing that you want on each, so you're going to take a large cluster jewel, you know, an 8 passive large cluster jewel with 2 passive skill sockets, and then essentially you're going to take Widespread Destruction, Prismatic Heart. It's all going to give you elemental damage, and the last one that you want on this is either Burning Bright or Cremation. Now that's the expensive build way of doing this. The really cheap way of doing this right now, until we get more currency up to buy that, is just going to be getting Widespread Destruction, Prismatic Heart, or if you can get Prismatic Heart and Cremation. Those are the 2 key ones there. Second to that, on top of this, you're going to want 2 medium cluster jewels. Now, we will introduce a 3rd medium cluster jewel up here, but I haven't even unlocked these points yet, so we're not going to worry about that at this stage. But anyway, you're going to want Burning Bright and Flow of Life. Now, if you can get those together, they're really bloody expensive. They're like 1 or 2 Exalt each. Alternatively, the option I've went here is like 30 Chaos, 40 Chaos tops. So, you know, I've got one with Flow of Life. It's going to increase your damage over time. It's going to give you life regeneration. And then I've got Circling Oblivion that does DoT, because RF is damage over time. And then the key one here is Burning Bright, which gives you fire damage over time multiplier, which is pretty much one of the big ticket items in this build is damage over time. And it's also got Smoking Remains. It gives you 35% flat fire damage and then 10% chance to create a smoke cloud on kill, which, whatever. For your general jewels, you pretty much just want to get burning damage, increased maximum life, and fire damage. Now, getting those 3 stats, and every single gem that you run in this, that's what you want to run, or every single jewel that you run in this tree, doesn't matter what socket you put it in, if it's in this socket, if it's in this socket, if it's in bloody this socket, if it's in the socket we're going to take here, you're going to want burning damage, life, maximum life percentage, and you're going to want fire damage. Now, those are about 1 to 1.5x with all 3 of those rolls. What I've done to sub that out is basically use burning damage and increased life, and then whatever I could find. So, you know, if I could find increased spell damage while holding a shield, or increased damage while holding a shield, or something like that, then that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to target. Those are the key jewels that make this build work, and realistically, if you understand that, you can make this work. They're not overly expensive to get these really cheap and nasty variants. Like this is a 5, but it essentially acts as a 4. It's not bad at all. And obviously, you know, we want to stack Burning Brights because that gives us fire damage, AoE, and fire damage over time multiplier. And then we're going to get another one up here and bash that in here, and Bob's your uncle. That's our RF build along with the tree that we're using here. Now, obviously, RF, the way that RF scales is RF or Righteous Fire does increased damage based on the burn rate of your total health, which is why we want to continue to increase our health. By the time I'm done, I want to get this to about 8,000 at least. That's going to increase our damage. Now, gearing wise, right now, you're just going to use a Chaos Heart. If you can corrupt, you can buy them for 15 chaos each. If you want to give it a bash, you can corrupt one and try and get the 50% implicit corruption roll, with 50% damage increased damage implicit corruption roll. That's going to increase your RF damage drastically. Obviously, the other thing you're going to need is you're going to run RF from your helm, and your helm you're going to get burning damage and concentrated effect. Now, depending on the rolls, depending on whatever, you know, you're going to try and get the highest socketed support gem level that you can possibly get. This is only an 18 for burning damage and 16 for conk effect. And obviously this is an Elder Helms. This is pretty much a prerequisite because you don't want to run a 6-link chest, because there's no better chest that you're going to find for an RF build than a Chaos Heart. You might be able to craft a crazy ass one where you can get, you know, 10% or 20% life or 15% increased life, regen or whatever. If you want to go down that path, you can. I would just suggest getting a Chaos Heart for a cheap build. Rings are really easy, 2 Chaos ways. It's going to give us increased endurance charges. We are running a jugg, so endurance charges are key. We want 8 endurance charges minimum. Now you will want a marble amulet. The one that I've got sort of caps my resistances, gives me some health, but the one that I want is actually a hunter amulet that does mana reduction for malevolence, and that's like 1.5x. That'll be in the final build when I get to endpoint on this, and that will amp our damage up tenfold, because then we can run Vitality as a 3rd aura, and that'll increase our regeneration, which will make us unkillable, almost unkillable, but we're not yet at that stage. For a scepter, essentially you just want to get a scepter with elemental damage on it as an implicit, which is, you know, the first number there before the next line where it has all the rest of the attributes, and then you want to get fire damage over time and increased fire damage. In my case, I've got one with 26%. You can get them for like 30 chaos for about 30%. Really depends on the rolls. I didn't mind the rolls on this one. Everything else on this is shit. So this is one of those mastercraft things that you're gonna have to go down. Alternatively, you can sub out and use a staff, but then you'll lose your shield. Now, the best shield for this is simply just to use a Saffell's frame. And the reason why is it gives you 4% to all maximum elemental resistances, which means you get 4%. And the way that RF works is you have to build over the top of your fire resistance. So you'll get 4% over the top of your cap. Now, the other thing that we run is Purity of Fire. That increases our maximum fire resist by another 3%. And then basically how RF works is you continue to max out your fire resist to a point where your health would normally continue to go down. It actually, the DEGEN is decreased by the fire resist offsetting the constant fire damage. So then instead of your life going like this, it goes the other way. And that means you regenerate health. And that's why you try and maximize health, you maximize regeneration, and you want to maximize total maximum fire resist. Previously, we used to use a Rise of the Phoenix shield, but they're no longer just not very good compared to what you can do now. Alternatively, you can craft other things in here. So you could use something like this sort of shield, which will give you, as you can see here, the regen. If I switch to this shield, because I haven't got Purity of Fire, and my DEGEN is killing me right now. Now, this shield you can craft really easily. It's got health, it's got 3% maximum fire resist, it's got health regeneration, but it's just not the same as this. It's not as, that extra 1% is normally a huge differential in how much regen you can take. So then if we hit this, then you'll start to see regeneration. It'll start to hold straight. Once your endurance charges pick up too, you know, we're going to be looking at 1.3% regeneration per endurance charge as well, so that's going to buff us up further. And then on your amulet, you also want to use an inexonerable, which means when you stand still on an enemy, it gives you irrespective of that, it gives you 0.3% more life regeneration on each endurance charge, which is multiplied by 8. So it's going to give you a shitload more life regeneration. That's basically Righteous Fire. Now, the other mechanic that you should be aware of, and you'll see in different build guides, is you'll see inspiration support attached to the Righteous Fire gem. Now, Righteous Fire doesn't directly allow you to proc inspiration support, but what does is your shield bash. And as you can see, as I shield bash, my inspiration charges go up. That's not from RF itself, that's from shield bash. So because that inspiration charge is a global charge, then because you've got it attached into your Righteous Fire build, as well as your shield bash, or Righteous Fire gem setup, as well as your shield bash, then those inspiration charges then increase the damage of your shield, of your Righteous Fire itself. And that's basically how that works. That's why you'll see builds that do that. That's an explanation of that mechanic. The other thing is the way to proc Elemental Overload, which decreases resistances of any secondary abilities or damage types versus the first damage type to hit an enemy. The way to proc Elemental Equilibrium, at least the way that I do it, is by running Orb of Storms with Flammability and Curse on Hit. And basically that hits the enemy with lightning damage, that then procs Elemental Overload, and then that decreases, that increases by 25% their resistance against lightning damage and decreases their resistance against fire damage by 50%, which gives your Righteous Fire the opportunity to completely go face on them. Anyway, that's the basic rundown of how RF works. Let's get into a map and I'll show you how this actually runs in a map right now as it stands without going too crazy on the gearing. And we can do so many things with the gearing. We can do so many better cluster jewel setups. We can get this up to like 8 mil dot damage, or at a minimum like 5 mil. We can even get, you know, if we get a Val Righteous Fire, that's going to buff our damage up even more. There's plenty of things that we can do with this. Right, so I don't know what happened there. My instance timed out, but we're going to do Moon Temple. Alright, so we get into a map. We proc our bloody Righteous Fire. And as you can see, enemy, and this is T14 by the way. Now we're taking a bit of damage because there's elemental damage here. But as you can see, we regen really quickly. And we just melt enemies. Now this is cheap man's version. This isn't even really fleshed out. We proc that, you know, Orb of Storms, it just does even more damage. And you know, T16 is not much more difficult than this. Not really difficult at all. So as you can see, it just does dumb amounts of damage, and we're still leveling up gems. So hopefully I don't completely go shit on this. As you can see, it just eats away at the enemy, chews their health out. We could just sit here like this, take our hands off it, just let it do its thing. You just hit us with a big hit, did nothing. We just regen. So you got nothing, bro. And there we go. That's the T14 map boss. Really easy. We'll just run the rest of this map a little bit. You know, we drop our Orb of Storms down. You know, these things would normally kill you, but they do nothing because we're a jug and we don't give a fuck. Yeah, it's just disgusting damage. Just level up our Righteous Fire and do even more damage. Anyway, there we go. That's basically Righteous Fire. Really cheap way to do it. Really easy way to do it. Nothing much to it, to be honest with you. I'll put the POB in the description. And yeah, that's it. I'll continue to build this character up, level it up, do whatever I need to. I'll actually do a full build guide. I think we've still got like 1.5, 2 months left of the league, so you know, Obviously, my Redemption Sentry build is at a point where I just can't be buggered doing anything else to it because it can kill anything in the game anyway, so let's do a second build. Anyway, if you like this video, like and sub. If this helps you with Righteous Fire, definitely like and sub. This is something different, and also this character looks ridiculously awesome as well with the MTX, and if you want the MTX, I'll put it in the description as well. But yeah, I've also started a Patreon as well. Anyone, to become a Filthy Exile is, yeah, you do not have to sign on to Patreon or anything. Completely up to you, but it's there. It's going to be in the description. And yeah, if you don't like this video and you think it's shit, dislike it. And until next time, bye.